You've been carrying a mistake, a past you can't erase, a version of yourself you're terrified people will find out about. And you think if anyone really knew, they'd never respect you, never listen to you, never trust. But what if I told you that the exact thing you're hiding is the exact thing someone needs to hear about to survive? There's a man in the Bible named Paul, but before he was Paul, he was Saul. And Saul wasn't just a regular guy who made mistakes, he was a terrorist. He hunted down people who believed in Jesus and had them arrested, beaten, killed. He stood by and watched a man named Stephen get stoned to death and didn't flinch. Saul believed he was doing the right thing. He believed he was protecting truth, but he was destroying lives. Then one day, everything stopped. Saul was traveling to arrest more believers when a blinding light knocked him to the ground. He heard a voice, "Saul, why are you persecuting me?" It was Jesus. And in that moment, Saul's entire identity shattered.
Everything he thought was right was wrong. Everything he believed he was doing for good was actually evil. He went blind for 3 days. Couldn't see, couldn't eat, couldn't function. He had to sit in the dark with the weight of what he'd done. But here's what you didn't know. That blindness wasn't punishment. It was preparation, because Saul had been blind his whole life. Blind to his own cruelty, blind to his own arrogance, blind to the pain he was causing. The physical blindness was just making visible what was already true. And in those 3 days, Saul had to face the terrifying question, if I'm not who I thought I was, then who am I? God sent a man named Ananias to pray for Saul. Ananias was terrified because he'd heard about Saul. He knew Saul's reputation. He knew what Saul had done to people like him. But God said, "Go, he's mine now. I'm going to use him." Ananias prayed, and Saul's sight was restored. But more than that, Saul's heart was restored. His identity was rebuilt. And the man who was once a destroyer became the greatest messenger of grace the world has ever seen.
This is where most people miss it. They think transformation means erasing your past, that redemption means pretending it never happened. But that's not how God works. God didn't erase Saul's past. He redeemed it. He took the worst thing about Saul, his violence, his persecution, his hatred, and turned it into his greatest credential. Paul spent the rest of his life telling people, "I was the worst sinner. I killed people. I destroyed families. If God can forgive me, he can forgive anyone." His shame became his message. His past became his proof. The thing he was most ashamed of became the thing that gave people the most hope, because when people saw Paul, this transformed, grace-filled, loving leader, they didn't see perfection. They saw possibility. And then something changed. Paul stopped running from his past and started using it. He stopped hiding what he'd done and started owning it, not to glorify his sin, but to magnify God's grace. He wrote letters to churches saying, "I'm the least qualified person to tell you about Jesus, but that's exactly why I'm telling you, because if he can change me, he can change anyone." But what if I told you that your shame is the same thing, that the mistake you're hiding, the past you're running from, the version of yourself you're terrified people will discover, that's not your disqualification, that's your assignment. Maybe you struggled with addiction and you're afraid people will judge you, but someone right now is in the same spiral you escaped from, and they need to know it's possible to get out. Your past isn't your liability, it's your credential. Maybe you made a terrible decision in a relationship and you carry guilt every day, but someone is about to make that same mistake, and your story could stop them. Or someone already made it and thinks they are beyond forgiveness. Your shame could become their hope. Maybe you failed publicly, lost everything, embarrassed yourself in front of people you respected, but someone is sitting in that same wreckage right now thinking their life is over, and your comeback could show them that endings are actually beginnings. In the next 14 days, I want you to do something that will change everything. Tell one person the thing you've been hiding, not for confession, for connection, not to glorify your past, but to magnify God's grace. Because the moment you stop hiding your story and start sharing it, you stop being a victim of your past and start becoming a voice for someone else's future. Paul didn't become influential because he was perfect. He became influential because he was real. He didn't pretend his past didn't exist. He
weaponized it. He turned his greatest shame into his greatest strength. And the people who needed hope the most weren't the people who had it all together. They were the people who saw Paul and thought, if God can use him, maybe he can use me too. Your shame isn't your ending. It's your introduction. The thing you're most afraid people will find out is the exact thing someone is waiting to hear. Stop hiding it. Share it. Let your past become someone else's permission to believe they can be redeemed too. You're not disqualified. You're being repositioned. Own it.